Hello everybody, welcome back to What's Culture Wrestling, and it is a Sunday. We've actually made it round another week. It was that quick. We're back, and on a Sunday, it's you know the deal by now. It's just me. I'm here to tell you about all the stories that have dropped overnight, and yeah, we've got a few. We've got a fair few to get into, so I'm just going to jump straight on in to my first one today, and that is all about Kevin Owens apparently going down injured at WrestleMania 36. Obviously, if you remember WrestleMania 36, feels like it was a lifetime ago now. He jumped off that massive WrestleMania sign in the Performance Center, landed on a table on Seth Rollins, and it was probably one of the biggest, or well, probably the best spots of the night. It was just a shame, obviously, it was in front of no crowd and everything else, but it was still a pretty cool spot. But Kevin Owens recently spoke with RDS in Canada, and he said that he believes he's suffering from a sprain or a slight fracture because of that spot. Which, to be honest, I mean, that seems like a small price to pay for that spot, really, because that was a huge spot, and he could have gone wrong, and he could have had a serious injury off the back of that. So, I don't. It's never great being injured, but I think if he was going to get injured, that's probably one of the injuries he'd prefer. So he is set to undergo an X-ray to determine how bad the injury actually is. And if you're wondering where he's been over the last couple of weeks, obviously because he's not been on Raw since, I believe, WrestleMania, if I'm wrong, correct me on that. But he said that that's because he's spending time with his family during the current global situation. And he said that, well, to quote him, he said the great thing about WWE is that it doesn't require us to be there if we don't want to. This is also why in the last 2 weeks I've not been present because I prefer to be at home with my family. So yeah, I mean, I'm not going to argue with that. If he wants to be at home with his family during this current situation, yeah, fair play to him. He's got every right to do that. It is conflicting slightly with what you hear about the company not being happy with Roman Reigns doing a similar thing, even though he's immunocompromised. He wanted to stay away for his own health and everything else. Yeah, slightly conflicting, but if Owens wants to do that, I mean, yeah, more power to him. I don't think anybody's going to question him doing that at this point. Yeah, so in more injury news, again, this isn't the strongest start to a news video. A lot of injuries, sorry about this. But we've got Jimmy Uso is apparently dealing with a knee injury that's going to require him to be out for 6 to 9 months. So that's a bit of a shame, isn't it, really? I mean, this is according to Ringside News. It was later confirmed by the Wrestling Observer. It said that Jimmy Uso is dealing with a knee injury, and obviously he'll miss that 6 to 9 months of action. And it is speculated at this point that he hurt his knee during that triple threat ladder match at WrestleMania. So that's the second WrestleMania casualty of this video. Not very happy with you, WrestleMania. You're taking away all of our wrestlers. But yeah, it's a shame because it felt like the Usos, they'd been away for quite some time, then they came back around January of this year, I believe it was. It's just all blurring together at this point, sorry about that. But yeah, they came back and it just felt like they were starting to pick up a bit of momentum again, starting to, I can't say connect with the audience because there wasn't much of an audience from March onwards, but it's a huge shame. It just derails them yet again. A similar thing happened in 2019, obviously, when Jimmy got his DUI arrest, and the Usos were picking up a bit of steam. Then obviously they got pulled off and everything else, and it's a shame. But I just hope he gets back fit as soon as possible. Hopefully, in a way, it could be a blessing in disguise, because if he's out for 6 to 9 months, then when he comes back, there are crowds and everything else. They'll get a huge pop when they return. So yeah, it could be a blessing in disguise. Okay, so we're going to step away from WWE just for a minute. We're going to go into the world of AEW. And we're going to talk about Tony Khan, who obviously is the president of that company. And he was responding to a fan on Twitter recently who was questioning whether he took part in producing storylines or if he was just more of a top guy who just handled all the main event stuff or the really high concept ideas. And Khan said on Twitter, he said, "No, not at all. I'm deep in the weeds. I write shows, lay out a large percentage of the stories, approve any and every segment that goes on the air, and I don't just sit around and wait for people to pitch ideas to me." So I think this is really interesting straight away because it shows that he really does have his finger on the pulse of everything in that company. Really cares. He's a busy dude. Like he owns an NFL team as well and everything else. He's not just sat there like twiddling his thumbs and waiting for the money to roll in. He's really trying to, have a presence and try and push things along in his own way. And he's a huge fan, obviously, of wrestling. We know this. We know he's a massive fan. He has been for years, most of his life. So for him to say that he's trying his best to have as much of an impact and much of an influence on the show as possible, it's a positive thing. And it's cool to see that he's saying that he lays out a large percentage of the stories, and that's pretty cool. I mean, in terms of layouts, is that just the skeleton? Is that a full program? We don't know exactly. But yeah, if he has been doing that for, it seems like for quite some time now, it seems to be paying off. So long may it continue. And he also said, I think this was a follow-up, I think another fan chimed in and asked him, let me just try and find this exactly. He asked him, when did he start taking on more of a part in creative? So when did he start really getting a bit more hands-on? He said that he had a lot of reflection to do over the holidays to go into 2020 with a better and more organised process. So yeah, so it looks like 2019 was a bit of a learning curve. They were trying to figure everything out, and then they obviously had that Christmas break, and they came into 2020. And for me personally, I feel like 2020 onwards has been some of the strongest stuff that we've seen from AEW. I know it's not even been a year yet, but I think that second half of this year, they've really come into their own, started figuring out what they are as a company, and I think that shows now in the fact that Khan's probably got everyone together, got them all singing from the same song sheet, and yeah, going forward, I think if this process seems to be more organised and seems to be working, it could produce countless incredible storylines for the future. So I'm very excited about that, and that's a cool thing to know. Okay, so our next piece of news revolves all around Becky Lynch, the Raw Women's Champion. If you didn't know this by now, she is about to appear in the season premiere of Billions. I've not seen Billions yet. It's a hit Showtime series. If you are a fan, let us know in the comment section below. If you do see her on the show, let us know how she does. I might actually check it out just to see what Becky Lynch is like in it. But yeah, that's been doing the rounds over the last couple of days, and now there's apparently a rumour that she could be involved in something a lot bigger going forward. This is according to Chris Tapley, I believe it is, who's a former variety writer, and he hosts the Netflix podcast The Call Sheet. Again, not seen that. If it's any good, let me know. But yeah, he said that the man is involved in an upcoming movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And if you didn't know this, I'm quite a fan of the MCU. So that's pretty cool. It's combining two of my favourite things. You've got WWE and Marvel together, and it's just going to be, yeah, Becky Lynch would be incredible. So there's no confirmation on what that project could be, whether it's going to be maybe Black Widow, which was scheduled to come out in April. Obviously, the global situation happens. That's been pushed back. Whether it's going to be Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, whether it's going to be the upcoming Thor film, Spider-Man film, Doctor Strange. We don't know. We don't know if she's popping up in any of those, whether she's already filmed the parts, whether she's just been scheduled to be in a film. We don't know, but it's really exciting news, and hopefully, yeah, this could lead to even more film roles for Becky Lynch going forward, and she could be yet another WWE star transitioning over into the acting world. Right, so this next story is a bit of an interesting one because we've noted this a couple of times when it was happening. WWE decided that they were going to air old wrestling matches in the middle of like a Raw or a SmackDown just to fill up time, really. So you had this big 3-hour Raw, and then they'd throw a big Royal Rumble match in the middle of it, and that was like a big hour taken out, and it was, yeah, then it suddenly turned into a 2-hour Raw in a weird way. I wasn't a huge fan of it because I just felt like, especially when it was matches that had only just happened, it was a bit like, okay, no, I've seen this, skip. That's the way I approached it. But apparently, I'm not the only one because Vince McMahon, this is according to Dave Meltzer, who posted this on Twitter, Vince McMahon is the reason that WWE have decided to no longer air any classic content on weekly television. And this seems to be because they feel it's probably going to run its course, and maybe it already had. And that's what Meltzer's opinion on the matter was. And yeah, I fully agree with this, to be honest, because yeah, it's great watching old matches, but we can do that anyway whenever we want because we've got the WWE network. You can just jump onto the network, click on an old match, watch a bit of old Shawn Michaels if you fancy it, and then yeah, we've got it there. We don't necessarily, it's great seeing a hidden gem or that we haven't seen before on a Raw or a SmackDown, but we can do that anytime. We tune into Raw and SmackDown because we want to see what's happening live. I mean, obviously, every single day we talk about whether it's right or wrong that WWE are continually putting content out there. But if that is what is happening, they're going to continue to do that. If they're promising new stuff, they can't just keep airing old stuff because that's just false promises. And don't break my heart with false promises. WWE have been hurt before. So yeah, this is apparently a fan was asking this because he said, wouldn't this be a good way to boost ratings? I don't really think it would. I think it'd probably push more people away again. But as we've mentioned a couple of times, Raw and SmackDown have been steadily decreasing for quite some time. And that takes us into a nice segue into our next news story, which is, well, SmackDown have drawn their lowest overnight viewership since moving to Fox. So we had a feeling it was coming. The writing was on the wall for a while with this one. It seemed like last week was very close. And yeah, they've just gone the full 9 yards with this one. It's a shame. This is according to Showbuzz Daily. They said that last night's episode of SmackDown drew an average of 1.919 million viewers overnight, and that was a drop of 4.3% from last week's show. So that's the lowest recorded, like I said, the lowest recorded rating since the company moved to Fox back in October. And they also scored a 0.5 in the prestigious 18 to 49 demographic, which was tied for 5th on the night. So, I don't know. I mean, there's nothing enticing about these shows at this point. There's nothing like whatever was promoted for this week's SmackDown. It didn't make me. I mean, I watch it because obviously I watch it because I love talking about it with you guys. But there was nothing about this show that made me go, wow, I've got to drop what I'm doing and run straight for the television. I cannot wait for this week's SmackDown. Because it's just, everything feels empty because you're in an empty PC and it just feels like filling time until the world knows what's going on, which is a situation that everyone's in at this point. But I don't know, it's not been the strongest period, let's say, for WWE in terms of creativity, in terms of the actually no, I'll dispute that because it's been strong in terms of the cinematic great stuff that we've had that have been produced in this era, this crowdless era, but in terms of weekly television, it's not been the strongest period that they've ever had. And yeah, they need to do something to try and drag people into watching these shows, because at this point, it could get a lot worse. I feel like this could be the beginning of quite a slump in the next couple of weeks. Okay, so our final piece of news for today is all about the SmackDown Tag Team title. There's been a weird little feud-ish thing going on right now involving Lucha House Party, Forgotten Sons, The New Day, and John Morrison and The Miz on SmackDown right now. And they all seem to be just, I don't know, they're reacting and interacting with each other. And now suddenly they've just gone, throw them all in the match. They've spoken to each other over the last couple of weeks, and yeah, they're going to have a match at Money in the Bank for the tag team titles. Yeah, fatal 4-way match. It'll be a cool match, but I just don't understand why they didn't announce this on SmackDown. Again, it feels like one of those things where they've taped a couple of shows and then gone, should we just announce it? Yeah, if they were on. It's a throwaway. It could have been set up at the end of, there could have been a brawl or something at the end of last week's SmackDown. Between, The Miz and Morrison were there on commentary for that Forgotten Sons New Day match. And there could have been a little fight, and then just for reasons, because that seems to be all they need in WWE these days. For reasons, the Lucha House Party could have just ran down, had a big brawl, and then they could have been we'll take you on for our titles. It could have been that easy, but they didn't. They've just announced it on WWE Now, because it's either WWE Now or the Bump that seems to announce every match these days, which is great. So yeah, it is what it is. Let me know what you think of that match, if you think it's going to be any good. I mean, it probably will, because every team involved there, they're pretty good in their own right. It'll be interesting seeing how the Forgotten Sons react there. That's their first ever WWE pay-per-view, the main roster pay-per-view, so that'll be very interesting for them. That has been your Sunday news roundup. Let me know what you think of any and all of our stories that we've talked about today. What do you think of the multiple injuries that WWE are dealing with after WrestleMania? What do you think of Tony Khan apparently laying out a large percentage of AEW stories and matches and things like that? What do you think of Becky Lynch potentially going into the MCU? There's so much that we need to talk about, and I cannot wait to hear what you guys think of it. As always, I have been Gareth from What Culture Wrestling. You can find me on gmorgan04 on Twitter. Go and follow everyone at What Culture Wrestling, What Culture WWE. And yeah, be sure to head on over to whatculture.com and read some brilliant articles as well, because we've got loads of cool ones dropping every single day. Hopefully you're having loads of fun back home, whatever you're doing right now in isolation, if you are in isolation. If not, if you're still working, incredible. I tip my bob hat to you. And yeah, just keep your chin up. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to all things What Culture Wrestling. And hopefully I will see you very, very soon.